Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I've been asked so many times over the past month to do some Christmas card watercolors, so we're gonna start off with doing this holly branch this year. Hopefully there'll be more to come. If you guys like the Christmas card videos, just let me know, like watercolor Christmas cards. They don't have to be Christmas cards. You could use this for any sort of winter thing, but I just wanted to show that. So what we're gonna do is work on a 5x7 Strathmore watercolor card, and on my blog, probably not quite yet, but very shortly in a day or two, I'm gonna have this pattern available for you. I just figured, since I was using masking fluid and I wanted to kind of have this process stepped out for you, I thought it'd be a lot easier for me to make a pattern. And what I like to do is actually, this is 5x7. You can print it to 5x7, or you can enlarge it if you want to do this on a bigger canvas, which I think would be very appropriate. Watercolor paper, whatever you're using. I highly recommend watercolor paper for watercolors. I'm using some graphite paper here, and I taped my image down so it doesn't slip. Okay, little tip for you there. And then I'm putting in my paper, and I'm just gonna go ahead and trace the entire design here, okay? And the reason I like to tape it down is because then I can kind of lift it up and I can peek and I can see if I've forgotten something. Now I'll show you here. So I can lift it up and I can see I've got that transferred, but then I can put that back in. It's not going to move it, and I can continue on with my design. So I'm going to finish tracing this and we'll come back and start painting. Okay, so when we take our paper off and remove the graphite paper, we have our image here. And you could freehand it. I just figured you might want to try this a couple times. If you're doing Christmas cards, you might want to make a bunch, and it would just be a little bit easier that way. And then we're going to use some masking fluid, and I've already stirred this up. This is a Winsor & Newton colorless art masking fluid. They also have it tinted. Different companies make it. Tinted stuff, this has a little bit of a yellowy tint to it, but you can get it with like a blue tint just so you can see it a little bit better. Now here is a very important tip. When you're using masking fluid, you want to take a soap, and it can be any kind of soap, and you want to wet your brush with the soap, because otherwise if you put the fluid on your brush, it's going to stick to it permanently and it might ruin it. You may be able to wash it out, but chances are you can't, so make sure that you you soap up your brush first, and use a brush that's not your favorite one. Don't go using like an expensive brush for this. Now because we have snow on our holly branch and that's white, we're going to use a white of the paper, so I want to mask those areas off. So I'm just dipping into my masking fluid, and some, you know, if you're using it more often, you could pour a little bit out into another container so you don't have to leave your masking fluid open, but I'm not too worried about that because I've been using this one for years in pretty much this fashion, and it's been fine for me. This isn't going to take that long to mask out either. And I'm just kind of thinking about where the snow would fall, and that's kind of how I am placing the masking fluid. Just like the tips and edges of things. And I might do the other ones a little bit differently, you know, as long as you just kind of think about, okay, I've got a berry there, I'm probably going to have masking fluid. This will take probably about 10 minutes to dry, but that's alright because I already have one masked out. I want it to kind of look like groups of snow, kind of like bunches, so I am kind of dabbing with my brush so I get that rough edge. I don't want a really smooth edge up at the top. I want it to be really have that kind of crusty snow, fluffy snow texture. And oh, I pretty much will keep a brush when I use a brush for masking fluid. That will usually become my masking fluid brush. And you don't need a ton. It doesn't need to be really thick. You can go fairly lightly. If you can't find masking fluid in your area, some people have told me that rubber cement has worked for them. Personally, I've tried it, and it might be all right for like kids projects, like, you know, if you're not really needing to be that precise. I personally have not had great luck with it doing watercolor masking, but you know, maybe I just had awful masking fluid, you know, awful rubber cement. So that's kind of what it looks like. Now I'm going to clean this, not in my regular water brush. I'm using this bucket over here, and I'm not using this to clean my brushes with because I don't want to get any of those rubber particles in my my watercolor paints. Cap this up really well, and then we're gonna, I'll skip over, we'll take one that I've already let dry. I've got that right there, power of YouTube. And I am gonna tape this down. I don't think I have room to do like a really, I don't have room to do a border on this because I didn't really plan my drawing for that, so I'm just going to tape around the corners. If you print this off and you want to have an even border, then just print it a touch smaller. What you can do is when you go to print it, you just set the print size, and you can set it to whatever size you want. You could do an 8 by 10, whatever you like. Okay, so now what we're going to do is paint our background wash, and I'm going to use, I'm going to wet the entire paper. You could use this, whoa, I should have cleaned that brush a little bit better. I was painting the berries last. So we're just going to wet that. And I'm going to do a wash. I'm going to use some lemon yellow and some sap green or hooker's green, whichever green you have. Actually, I think I'm using hooker's green because I'm using my Yarka palette. But you can use whichever one you like. I don't think this is going to be one we finish in 20 minutes, tell you the truth. It actually took me, it looks deceptively easy. So I'm going to go in with the yellow over the berries and over the leaves. That's going to give me a nice depth of color. When I go to put on this, you know, subsequent layers. And then I'm going to go in with my hooker's green, which is it's just a little bit less earthy than your sap. And I'm going around, I'm going right over my masking fluid, but I'm going around the leaves. I'm going to get this nice dark color in here, and it can seep in, and that's totally fine. But I'm just kind of this is really background. This is like those leaves kind of far off in the distance. I'm kind of excited. I've been doing a lot of Halloween projects. I'm excited to do a Christmas project. Not that it has to be Christmas. You could even paint like a little chickadee or something. You can use this as part of a larger painting altogether. We're going to do some color mixing too, so I think you're going to learn quite a bit from this exercise. Now the masking fluid is protecting the paper. Oh, another tip, if you want to speed up the drying of your masking fluid, be very careful. You really don't want to heat it. Maybe like a hairdryer at a distance. If you're really careful, maybe your heat gun at a distance, but you don't want to cook it and bake it onto that paper permanently. So you're best off if you can just leave it and let it dry, but if you absolutely cannot wait, then you could very gently use a hairdryer at a distance. Okay, well, I think I want a little bit of that, maybe in and around. Now if you just do like I did there and got a little green on the berries, take your paper towel, don't freak out, just take your paper towel, kind of put it around your finger like that and just blot it. I just don't want to have, the only thing I want stark white on this picture is going to be the snow, okay? So that's why I'm kind of covering everything. Now I do want to deepen up some of that dark around the edges, so I'm going to take some red and mix that with my green. Those are opposites. They're going to make a gray to black kind of color, gray to kind of browny black color. Add some of that in hither and yon. We will be going in with some glazes, so don't worry, we'll be darkening it up more. You don't have to do this right now if you don't want to. I'm going to put in some kind of red dabs just to be kind of like faraway berries. And I can actually put a little bit, I don't know if I want to put a wash on the berries yet. I'm afraid, I think I'm going to hold off on doing a wash on the berries at this point because I'm afraid it's just going to bleed out of control a little bit. Now if you want to dry your paper as you go, then just keep your hairdryer back a little bit so you don't cook anything. I'm going to pause it so we can let this dry, and then we'll be able to go in and add some details. Okay, the background's dry. We're going to switch to a flat or an angle. You can use either one. This is about a ½ inch wide, or number 12, and I am going to dip the corner of this into my dark brownish green kind of mix. Maybe I'll add a little bit of ultramarine to that too. Okay, so that's what I got here, just on the corner. Actually, you know what? Let me mix up a bigger puddle of that, add a little more blue to that. This is going to be kind of like it's going to really make the leaves pop out of the background, sharpen them up a little bit. Okay, so my brush is clean, it's damp. I'm picking up some paint on this. Remember, this is the red and green mixed evenly, and the red I used was kind of like a crimson, and hooker's green, and then a little ultramarine blue. So it's a really, really dark green right now. And what I'm going to do is go right up along the edge of my leaves and just kind of give that definition. Okay, so it's really going to give them a nice hard edge. If your paint creeps all the way around and you don't get a nice blend, you can rinse your brush off and reload. You will need to do that here and there. Just nature of the beast. Okay, now that I can kind of see my edge, I'm going to clean my brush off. Just scrape the extra water off of my bucket, and I'm going to reload. Just look how I'm laying my brush. I'm just laying it kind of flat down in there and loading up the entire side of the brush so that paint can feed down. And I'm just side loading. We're going to use this technique again on the leaves with 2 different colors, so it's a great practice right here. And if you've ever done any toll painting, you probably know how to do this. And I think toll painting is an excellent way to learn brush strokes because you have to be so precise in toll painting. I took toll painting when I was in high school, and it's a fantastic way to learn a discipline. So I know people will say, well, I only did a little toll painting. Don't say you only did a little toll painting. The women that toll paint are, and men too, I just never had any men in class with me, they have discipline. There is such a level of discipline there. So please don't ever say you just do a little toll painting. I mean, that's like saying, I just ran the Boston Marathon. I mean, you are learning the hard stuff. You are learning how to put paint on your canvas, and you're learning how not to, ruin your brushes by getting paint in the ferrule. There's a lot of discipline in a toll painting lesson. So please don't ever feel that it's not, it's something to be ashamed of, or that it's not worth mentioning because, well, I used a pattern, and so what? You know what? Getting that paint on the paper is hard enough work. Please don't ever feel like it isn't because you used a pattern. I mean, there's such stereotypes there. I'm giving you a pattern for this because I know that painting it is going to be quite a bit of work. That, if you want to just jump right in there, that's fine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is work on, I think I actually want to get that stem in there. So I'm going to go back to my round. And I am going to make myself a nice brown with the green and the red. So we're going to mix our green and our red here. And then that makes a pretty dark brown. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to that to warm it up a little bit. A little of that lemon, same color we've been using. We're not using a lot of colors here. That's a nice highlight brown color. And I'm going to just tap my brush on my paper towel because it felt a little too juicy. And I'm going to go in and paint this branch. Just going to be careful not to paint over my berries, but you can paint over the masking fluid. I don't know how long this is going to take. This took me a while to paint the first one, but I don't know if a lot of that was probably waiting for the masking fluid to dry. And I was watching iZombie, so that was a little, I was having a good time. I have to go to update my shop today, and brewer, and got a cross-country meet. I have a busy day. Busy day. Alright, I think I'm going to also paint in those berries while I'm at it, because I just have to be careful around the brown, but it's not going to be the end of the world if I get a little brown on a berry. So I'm just going to try to keep their nice round shape as I'm doing this, but I mean, we're going to be fine-tuning everything after we take our masking fluid off anyway, so I'm really not even going to be too concerned. Just want to paint them in, and since the only thing that's wet near them is the stem, that's the only thing I really have to worry about. But I think that will just give it some shadow colors anyway, so there's really nothing to worry about here. You could always, and you totally have permission to do this, you could always paint this once and then go to like Staples or your favorite copy shop and have them make copies on glossy cardstock and use that for your Christmas cards. Because painting, I don't know how many Christmas cards you send, but if you send a lot, that could be a little prohibitive to hand paint that many cards. But if you come up with, like, maybe you try this painting like 4 or 5 times and one is just perfect, you can always have that copied and send that out. And then you could keep your original and frame it or something. I honestly think that this would be a good one done as an 8x10. I think I'm going to do this in my adult painting class that I do at the library next week, because I think that I think they would enjoy that. All right, so let's see. I think we're pretty dry up there. Let me just show you about how to dry this with a heat gun. Hold it back. Okay, don't get too close. Keep it moving. Okay, like you would your hair dryer. Don't bake that masking fluid. Keep it moving. And don't do it for too long. Okay, so if you must, like I must because I'm impatient. I have a lot of things to do today. Okay, so now I'm going to load up my brush to paint the holly. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do the lemon yellow on the tip of my brush. Let me pull my palette over here so you can see. So lemon yellow on the tip of my brush. I'm going to do the green on the lower part. This is a lot easier with an angle, but you can do it with a flat. And I want it a little bit lighter on the outside of my leaves. And I'm taped to my table. I should be on a, I couldn't find my little clips to clip it to. I couldn't find my little board, as a matter of fact. I don't know what I did with that. But, so I am just going to keep my light to the outside and dark to the inside and go right around like that. I think I need to mix new puddles on my palette though, because it kind of dried up from the last painting. So get yourself some nice juicy puddles. You want them very heavy with pigment. You don't want them watery. You want them juicy but not watery. You want a lot of paint, but you don't want it watery paint. But you want it liquid. You know what I mean? High concentration. Alright, so I'm cleaning off my brush. I'm loading the tall part in the yellow, tall part of the angle brush. I'm loading the low part in the green. Do this side. So each side is done separately. And if you're taped to a board, by all means, move your paper so it is more comfortable to paint. This is extremely awkward. And I'm just going to kind of fudge the middle of that one because that's a really big leaf. I should have a bigger brush. That'll be fine though. I think all my paint is crossed over. Oh, maybe not. There, I can blend that out. And then with the end of your brush, put in that center line. And we're going to do that much better on these other ones. I think I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Oh no, I'm not. A false alarm. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, I'm not. I'm good. Alright, so I'm on the edge of a sneeze, I think. You never know when they're going to show up. Alright, so I've loaded up my brush again, just to show you, half and half. And just wiggling it along the edge. Flip it around, do it on the other side. So you're going to have darker in the middle. I hope my head wasn't in the way. And if you get any weirdness, just kind of work it back a little bit. And I'm going to put this line there. I want I'm trying to scrape away the paint so that I get a lighter line like I did on that one and that one. So yay, that's working. Oh, my sneeze has gone away. I don't think I'm going to sneeze now. We're going to do the same thing up here. Oh, be a contortionist here. Next time, I'll have to go find another board. I probably took it down to the library and left it. Seems like I just used it though. I just used it last week. Don't worry about your masking fluid because you can paint right over that. I was handling this brush so much better last time my sample. Oh well. I think it's probably because I didn't tape it down and I moved my paper around, but it was buckling an awful lot and I didn't really like that. I thought that was troublesome. Okay, I might have to lift it up though, my goodness gracious. I'll go around to the other side. Do this one. Alright, scrape our veins in. That one got darker. I didn't get to it in time. Oh, that one's darker too. Oh well. Life's too short to worry about that. We're going to do this guy over here. It's funny, the same artist using the same sketch do this painting differently each time. So I know all your paintings are going to be completely original looking because we're different people. And even if we're using the same sketch, mine don't even look the same from picture to picture. Alright, I am gonna take a look here. Okay, so now I think I'm gonna add some shadows onto the berries. I'm gonna switch to a smaller round. This is one of those mimic brushes from Jerry's Artarama that I'm liking. The other ones are the clear handled ones are Royal Aquilons. I like those too. So I am using some red and some green, touch of ultramarine blue, trying to make it a little bit more like a deep, deep purpley gray color. I'm trying to think of where the shadows are going to be. And I am putting them in a little dark because I'm going to be going over with a little red in a little while too. So I'm not going to worry about that. You can, if you have any weird edges, you can go clean them up right now. You might have a shadow under where the snow is, like kind of resting on them. And I didn't leave highlights. I could have painted in highlights with my masking fluid, but I didn't. But that's alright, because we can always use like a little knife to carve out our highlights. Now I'm going to grab some of the red on its own. This beautiful crimson color. And you can just kind of blend it in there with that deeper color. Give it a little tonality. And we will need to make sure all the paint around the paint on our paper is dry before we remove our masking fluid. There's another tip for you, because if it isn't, it will tear and the wet paint can smudge under the area that you've been protecting with the masking fluid. So you just, you know, you don't want to go through all the work of putting masking fluid on and waiting for it to dry to have it ruined. All right, we're gonna let that dry. And we are going to take this script liner here. It's a number 2 liner from Creative Markets, one of the other mimics. It's the gray handle mimic, which I believe is a faux squirrel. And I'll bring my palette over. Got this pretty inky, pretty watery. And I'm twirling my brush. And I like a liner for this because it holds so much paint. And I won't have to reload very often. So you hold your brush pretty much straight up and down. And just flick out your little veins there. You can do that to each of the holly leaves here. So you can get quite a few before you have to reload. This is a fun one to paint. Hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're trying it. I know some of you guys say like you like to watch it first through and then try it. I think that's a smart move. Now this, by curving the stroke, you're going to make those leaves look like they have a little bit of roundiness to them. Just like they do. You know how they kind of fold down the middle a little bit and they kind of poof out in the center. So that's a great way to get that effect. Instead of making stick straight lines, which would give you a more flat leaf. You know, a little bit of a curve. And don't worry if you go off the leaf because it's a little bit darker in the background. I don't think you're going to see it. Okay, now I feel like I'm kind of missing a little background there. I'm going to go back to this number 4, I believe. It's a 4 round. And some of the dark green mixed with a little bit of red just to fill in that background. I just kind of missed it, I guess. I did there too. That happens, not a biggie. Okay, and now we're going to dry it and then we'll remove our masking fluid, which is always very exciting. So, dry, dry, dry. Remember, keep it moving. Don't put that heat tool close. Don't leave it on one spot too long. Alright, so to remove the masking fluid, you can roll it with your finger, but I find that's a recipe for smudging. This is a rubber cement pickup, or actually what this one is came from this honkin' huge one I found at Harbor Freight. It's actually called like a sander cleaner or something. It's like a big honkin' piece of rubber that people used to clean the stuff off their sandpaper and grinders and stuff, but it's the same exact stuff as you get at the art and craft store, but this is the size you get at the art and craft store, and the thing from Harbor Freight is like the size of a brick of Velveeta. So I had my husband cut me off a piece of his because I lost mine that I paid, you know, too much at the art supply store with. And so that's what this is right here. Just to give you a hint, you know, if you have one of those cleaner things, you might be able to use that. If not, if you know a woodworker that does, then ask them to cut off a piece of that for you. If not, go to, then, you know, it is, you'll never use a huge thing like that. Unless you just want to preemptively chop it up into small pieces because you know you're going to lose it and hide them, you know, everywhere around your craft stash or something. But you know, otherwise you can go to Staples, you can get a rubber cement. It's called a rubber cement pickup. Alright, so now we're revealing our beautiful white paper, but it is a little stark, you know, because, hey, that's white. Look at this. See, just to show you the difference, this is my finished painting here, and that's with just removing the masking fluid. That is super white. The snow is not that white. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that number 4 round, we're going to use a little bit of ultramarine blue. We're only using colors we've already used. Ultramarine blue, I'm putting that right out there. And then I've got that mix of green and red that made that brown. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that, add it to it so it's not super blue. But that's kind of the color of the, like the sky reflected in the snow right there. It's just very faint grayish blue color. So we haven't used that many colors. I'll put a list of the colors we used in the video description. And I'm just stippling very gently with the tip of this brush. I'm just stippling in some snowy shadows here. You don't want to put too much pigment, and if it looks too dark, you can dab it off. Because really, when you think you're looking at white snow, you're seeing so many other colors, you just don't realize it. And it's okay, like my brush is pretty dry. I'm picking up wet paint with a dry brush, so it's kind of splitting apart a little bit. And it may kind of make you cringe to tap your brush like that. You're not going to hurt it, I don't think, just doing a little bit like this. You're not grinding it into the paper, you're just kind of tapping it. Shadows on all those little clumps of snow. You don't need to fuss about it too much. Hope this video uploads quickly. I've had some issues last few days about when I was uploading. I don't know if my computer's been going to sleep or what the heck's been going on, but it hasn't. It's like frozen, and then I have to kind of turn the computer off and close out of the internet and go back on, and then it resumes where it was. But it's very weird because you're like, oh my gosh, I've had that uploading forever. Okay, now what do I want to do? I think I want a shadow on the stem there. I'm going to take ultramarine blue again with that brown that I made. Make a nice, it'll look almost dark, almost black here. Can you see that? And I'm just going to add that to the bottom edge of, actually, you know what? I think I want to add it to either side of that branch. You can add a few thorns in there if you want to. Give it some nice texture. And a few little stems. I don't know if you'll be able to see the stems on those little berries, but put some in there. You find any shadows that you want. Also, if you see, like, if you feel like your leaves aren't bright enough, you can mix a little bit of that brownish dark that you made in with your green. And check this out. So this is a little bit easier than side loading. I'm going to clean this brush, rinsey. Okay, so it's wet. Okay, lightly dab it, but it's still pretty wet. Just going to pick up the color on the tip only. And then any place I think, well, I don't have enough definition there, I'm going to go right up to the leaf with the tip of that brush, and there's just color on the tip, and like the rest of the brush just has water on it, and the water on the rest of the brush is just going to be enough to carry that pigment out so it fades to nothing like that. I feel like that's just so smooth, it needs to be roughed up a little bit because it doesn't really look like snow, so I'm just kind of breaking that up a little bit too. And you're pretty much just kind of tweaking at this point. If you need to bring back some edges, you can do that. Try not to fuss it and overwork it. I know it can be very difficult, but I think it's just a fun project. Fun project to work on. A great masking fluid project. Snow is a fun thing to use masking fluid for. I'm usually not a huge fan of masking fluid because I don't like waiting for it to dry, but like that, why do I have a white spot hovering in the air? It's a sunny day, obviously. Our leaves wouldn't be this bright if it wasn't, so we don't need hovering snow. So we'll just get rid of that. But there you have it. I mean, if you want some brighter highlights on the berries, you can go ahead. I'm just going to grab a craft knife behind me. Oh yeah, and I dropped something on the ground. And I can just kind of carve out, or if you don't want to do that, because my knife use is very scary, you can use a colored pencil, or whatever you want. It's your picture. There's no art police that are going to knock down your door and say that did not only use watercolor paint. You can, you know, scrape out some, you can even scrape out a little bit of snow if you wanted to. I mean, just remember, once you scrape that paper, you don't want to paint over it because it's going to make it really dark. But there you have it. Here's a finished one. I did add some splatters to it. That's completely up to you if you want to do that. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please share it with your friends via Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest. Those are great options. And please give me a thumbs up because that tells other people that they should watch this video too, because we just have so much fun here. If you're not a subscriber, I'd love it if you subscribed and you'll never miss one of my daily videos. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.